On this episode of Tiki with Ray, I'm still with my good friends Heather and Craig. This time we're talking about theme bars. We're talking about bars like Fern Bars, exotic bars, even owl bars. And we're also going to be talking about the birth of cocktails and how maybe a Mai Tai back in 1944 might have tasted just a little bit different than how it would now. How far off do you think, like, if you made a 1944 Mai Tai recipe, how different that would taste if you were actually to go back to the 40s?
Who's inventing the time travel machine?
Oh, yeah.
So we can test it.
I know.
I
know they don't make the rum anymore.
And we'll never know. Or what the Kahala Bay rum one
we
were...
probably might get close. No,
Not the Mai Tai.
That's Ray Nephew, 17-year-old one. So it's kind of like a funky Jamaican, right? But it's the OFTD comes close, like Denizens. This is a really great one. But I think where it is what I'm not sure what orgeat that they used, because he was French and his family was French, so they had like the French. So he like grew up with orgeat, I'm sure, and so
It had more like rose water in it or something.
Well, because
yeah.
and it's gotten to the point where we're used to that bit of like the sort of Torani or orgeat, and then they're making orgeats, and everyone's got different orgeats.
They all taste different.
And they all taste different.
Way different.
Well, and we've had cocktails with like vintage bottles of spirits that people, we've had access. We've been very lucky to have access to old vintage bottles of like a 1940 rum that someone just opened, and we made a drink with it. And
what?
And
really?
But it tastes great. But it's not. Does it taste any?
It's not like
I've had other great drinks from modern rums or modern bourbons or whatever.
I think the experience.
It's like our subcultures. It's different, but it's not better.
There's no comparison, and it's there are more things changing how you judge the flavor of something at that moment that could even compare to 70%. That's like a number, but like it's a good amount of your flavor is actually what you see in where you are, and Martin will say this is like a tiki drink in a tiki bar will taste better even if it's better made in a regular bar.
If you go to TGI Fridays and have
people want
an
to think
airport
that they have
bar.
this ability to taste and to differentiate, and we do to a certain extent, but we have a great deal of ignoring other aspects that influence us to flavors and experience.
Do you believe that?
Opposite, 110%, absolutely, and that's the aspect of why it's so important to have these because it sets the context of what you should experience, and it puts it up on a plate. And so that's why, for instance, Tiki tea can be really popular, even though their drinks are not good. Sorry. Everyone's cringing at home because everyone knows that's the truth. I mean, they're great, they're fine, but that's not like an amazing drink. It's amazing history and amazing people, and they're good drinks, and you're in there, and so they have
a very specific taste.
Right. If I took a Tiki tea drink out and put it in the mug, and then I put it in a plastic cup, and you had it in the alley,
you'd be like,
oh, this is great. This is okay. It's fine. I mean, and
we have a lot of friends from LA who like to go to this Chinese place down the street because they.
But it's like, me saying that doesn't mean it's worse. That's the other part. It's like that is the experience. It's why even a mediocre minecart roller coaster at Disneyland is amazing versus the same track you'd have at
Six Flags.
Six Flags or something. To the person who's ready for that experience.
Huma Huma is she's behind the website Kritiki.
Yep.
And Kritiki is...
And Ooga Mooga, which is where you register all your muggies.
So needless to say, is the two main internet resources for Tiki. When you go on Kritiki, you can type in a city, and it'll show you all the Tiki bars that are there.
And home Tiki bars now.
Tiki bars. And then the other
But she's had to Greek the locations because people show up.
Yeah, outdoors and knock and stuff.
She actually had the addresses on
she had just
on accident, because it was first using
she
Google
had a generic pin that was not your house. But
oh yeah.
Funny
that's
story.
Right.
She had like a sort of, she would just randomly pick something.
Some location.
But some lady emailed me, messaged me on Facebook and said, do you have a home tiki bar in this house? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, because people keep showing up at my house looking for it.
Oh my God.
Because I live where the pin that Humu randomly.
You mean people are actually like knocking on the door like, we
heard there's a tiki bar here because people didn't understand it was a home bar.
Right.
Yeah,
so Humu fixed that and just put the pin in like a park or something so people could show up at the park.
No, whenever I did, like when I do all my blogging and stuff like that, I've always made a point that's like there's no addresses, there's no outside of the house or anything like that.
Right.
You need to have your secrecy and privacy. But her websites are very well, and then for like her, what's the mug one?
Ooga Mooga.
I mean, you can go on there, like pretty much you can see what a mug is, where it came from, the history.
You put your own collection in, you take pictures, and like have like a
if people have one available, they're selling. If you want to sell one, you trade.
She is.
I want that. That's like a trade.
I'll tell you what. I had the pleasure of hanging out with her last Thanksgiving.
Nice.
So I went down to San Francisco for Thanksgiving weekend, right? Mm-hmm. I did a post on her, and I just said to him like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in the Bay Area for Thanksgiving that whole weekend. So if you're available, I'd like to meet you. You know, maybe I would like to go to like these bars. Maybe we can meet up for a drink or something."
Right.
And she's like, "Well, if you want, I have a home tiki bar. Just come down and hang out at our place." I'm like. Yeah. Okay. So here I am hanging out with the day after Thanksgiving. And she's like, what are you thinking about doing? I'm like, well, I'm thinking about going to Smuggler's Cove and then after that Pagan Island. She's like, well, if you want, I'll come with you. I'm like, yeah.
Spoiler, if Humu offers to go with you to a bar, you should always say yes.
Well,
yes.
Always
go with
her
I
didn't have to think twice about it. And I'll tell you what,
she always knows everybody.
Speaking about what she knows, she's like a powerhouse of like information of the history of Tiki.
Yeah.
And like... I loved it. It was like I honestly said it was like my best day of 2016 last year.
No.
And I just shut up and I just let her talk. Why do you think Tiki isn't big in like Philadelphia, New York, the East Coast cities? Because I would think that's where it would be the perfect place to be.
Probably because it isn't there yet. I mean, I don't know.
It isn't there yet, but it...
Yeah, well, New York's always a little behind. I know they like to think they're ahead, but they're usually a little behind.
Really?
It's too expensive. It's too expensive to do anything.
Tiki bars are hugely expensive. There's too much stuff to go in it. It's a lot. Like, most people can't pull it off.
That's a good point.
Most people can't pull it off, and they go.
That's a really good point.
I mean, it's too expensive to try something risky
and
unless it's
don't want
going to be popular. And it's complicated. Being in a tiki bar is complicated. Wouldn't you rather pour beers and shots than make a drink that takes 14 ingredients?
Okay, you talked about the East Coast of the country, right? You're talking about that was all...
People live there, I understand.
A lot of people live there, and they've lived there for a long time.
Yep.
Right.
So when you live in being from the East Coast, all the cities are these tight, claustrophobic row homes after row homes.
People don't leave, people stay.
People don't leave, people don't stay. I mean, like you talk about, like, say, Manhattan, right? That place, like, that city has been built and was been built for, like, a long time.
Right.
You talk about Southern California, you're talking about an entire area that was just sort of built up
a generation, right? Yeah, or
not too long ago. So I'm guessing like there was the land that you could buy to build the things that you wanted to do. Where in the East Coast, that you're not going to be.
And if you want to do something new,
you can't build Disney World in Manhattan.
I don't know. Are there other kind of hyper-themed bars in New York? I have no idea.
Is there any other hyper-themed bars? Period.
The Jekyll and Hyde in London.
Yeah.
So already you're in London.
No, there's one in New York. There's a Jekyll and Hyde in New York. I think. There's that Tim Burton bar they did in New York.
Yeah.
But there's no hyper theme bar that's a thing.
But what's interesting
there was
is
an owl bar in San Francisco.
There was the Owl Tree.
Do you drop in? No.
Owl Tree.
Owl Tree. Do drop in was
the interesting thing is. So we're talking about two different things, right? We're talking about a kind. So if you have an owl, for instance, the Owl Tree. That was Malachi. I loved that bar. Malachi. You know, if you have a bar, it's called the Owl Tree, and your theme is shit tons of owls. Every owl figurine, every owl wall hanging, every owl painting. This was in the time before owls were cool. It was the early 90s.
Owl themed bar?
Owl themed bar. It was called the Owl Tree.
Okay.
And it was just, you walk in and it was nothing but fucking wall-to-wall owls. right?
Do you really like owls a lot?
It doesn't matter.
The person who owned it did.
The person who owned it loved owls. Their theme was owls. They were committed to their theme. The thing is, that doesn't have a cocktail menu associated with it. So you walk into the owl tree and you get whatever you get in your regular cocktail bar. I get a 7 and 7. You get a beer. That doesn't have an attached cocktail agenda, if you will.
You're right.
You're not like, oh, owls mean it's all brown.
I was at this owl bar in Texas, and I'll tell you what, the
squibble was horrible.
the Tootsie Roll down there is way better than
the pellet martini was off the chart.
Took a lot of licks to get the center, if you know what I mean.
So
that was like volleyball. I said the joke, and you took it over.
Well, you know, I like to play.
So a tiki bar comes with baggage, right? A tiki bar comes with baggage. Expectations. Yeah. That's a much more
there's
positive.
A plumb line.
Yeah. So if you have a tiki bar, you can't have a tiki bar and then you just walk in and you say I want a Mai Tai and they say we don't serve those here. Yeah. So a hyper-themed bar that doesn't have an associated menu of drinks is a lot less, or that has an
accessible. Maybe.
Well, it's a lot less risky.
Yeah.
Because. Okay, you decorate it, but what if people don't like rum? Then people who don't like rum aren't going to come to your tiki bar. They did that Tim Burton bar. So they did a Tim Burton bar in New York, and now there's one in LA. But that doesn't have a pre-existing cocktail menu. They can name.
Sure they have absinthe, right?
Well, yeah, and they name the drink fun Tim Burton-y things. But if I am only a vodka drinker, I can walk in there and assume that I will get a drink that is vodka, and it doesn't, and I can enjoy the atmosphere, but I'm not tied into a certain menu. Tiki bar is a bigger risk that way because it comes with not only a decor expectation but a menu expectation.
What is a Fern Bar?
So you've got the decor is a late 70s mix of like bamboo, brass, and wood. Think of Cheers. Think of the
Three's
Regal
Company.
Beagle, Three's Company.
Yeah, Regal Beagle.
That sort of bit where you've got woven
Oak.
fabric. Oak. Go upstairs. Our the first floor of the house is a bit fern bar.
So upstairs you have a fern.
So lots of ferns, lots of plants, leaded glass Tiffany lampshades.
What became TGI
like
Friday?
I was going to say, you're describing Ruby Tuesdays to me.
Yeah.
Ruby Tuesdays is what became with the Fern Bar as far as decor and theme.
Quirky. Do you remember the 70s
Wacky,
sort of
quirky.
Victorian kind of
Turn
thing
of the
that
century
happened?
sort of twist to it, but with instead of like colors, but instead of
That's a
red and
Fern
white,
Bar.
No, I think it informs the structure of what became like a Fern Bar, but the colors are different. They're more like a 70s colors of like orange.
I never had.
yellow.
Martin was the first person who told me
Yes.
that name and that was a thing. To me, that was just Bobby McGee's when I was
I didn't even know there was
That
a
was a
name
bar.
for it.
That was the kind of
ice
thing.
cream and cocktails. The slippery nipple, the fuzzy navel, Harvey Wallbangers. These are drinks of the Fern Bars.
Because they're drinks of the 70s.
Because they're drinks of the 70s,
And
it's sort
that's
of like
a sort of
and that coexisted
zeitgeist of
when
that
Tiki
time.
died, right about that
We're gonna
same
make a
time,
lot
and
of
that's what sort of was the popular bar before it also sort of
Fern
turned
bar.
into the the early 80s Mexican bar, Cantina Margaritaville.
But they still kept the same amount of shit on the walls, but it was Mexican.
Yeah, and then it became Mexican themed. It was Husong and Larry's and Azteca and
it's
Big
a definite
Margaritas.
Mexican
And that was
because
the
let's be
drinking
real, it's
experience.
not
And that was the
Mexican.
theme.
Husong and Larry's. We still have one here. Husong and Larry's.
Which I think Husong and Larry's
became El Torito.
became
it's
El
the same
Torito,
company, right?
and then there were Trader Vic's that became, I forget the one that he called them, but they were like Trader Vic's that became Mexican places.
Yeah,
nice.
I wish I knew
like
that.
El Diablo, and then he made a tequila drink with, that's another funny thing about the Mai Tai.
Look, the guy just needs to make some money, okay?
It's not a magical drink creation. It's just a daisy it's just a rum daisy with almond sweetener. It's like a type of a drink. It's not like.
It's like
It's like, oh, it invented the margarita is a daisy. It's the same thing. It's
Just the margarita is a kind of daisy.
liquor lime, orange liqueur sweetener.
Wow.
There you go. There's your Mai Tai. The sweetener is almond. We'll show. It's like cocktail. That's my old story. Cocktail used
Welcome
to
to
mean
Inception.
Yeah.
a cocktail used to mean a very specific drink. One drink. Spirit, sugar, spirit, sugar, bitters, water. And that was a cocktail. And then that word cocktail started to mean any mixed drink. So for you to want,
What?
you want to,
There was actually a cocktail.
Yeah, there were cocktails, there were slings, there were... it's a kind of mixed drink called a cocktail. It's an old-fashioned. And the story is the reason why an old-fashioned is called an old-fashioned is because cocktail lost its meaning. So you say, I want a cocktail, and the guy makes you something. He's like, no, an old-fashioned cocktail. Like what cocktails used to be.
I feel like that sounds very urban legendy, but I'm down with it.
But yeah, but that's what an old-fashioned is. An old-fashioned is a cocktail.
Yeah, so we yell a lot at our house about that's not a cocktail, but that's a highball.
But the funny thing is then the old-fashioned changed. So even the old-fashioned that you got, which is people where you got crushed cherries, and pineapple, and then liquor, and
there's
then
nothing wrong
water,
with that, by the way.
Which is like a 70s
it's
old-fashioned.
delicious
That
too.
even changed. It's like martini. Martini is as gin and vermouth and bitters. And then it became a vodka martini, and then it became anything in a glass that looks like a martini.
What are we drinking?
What's this drink?
3 Dots and a Dash with no garnish, sorry.
Go ahead, Adam.
I'm not returning to this bar. No garnish? What is even happening here?
You have to return to this bar. Someone needs to fold the laundry.
It's Sunday.
Hey gang, this is Tiki with Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more episodes, click on the subscribe button. And if you liked the video, give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below.